The image has become the new place. Images of space, now more than ever, are all-consuming, reducing our understanding of a rich, multisensory life to a flattened framing of the world. We inhabit and immerse ourselves in this flattened spatiality more than we care to admit, watching, scrolling, clicking, swiping, sharing. Coming from a long history of the way photography and representation techniques have presented the interior, we've reduced our understanding of a 3D life to a series of 2D planes. Images have redefined our understanding of the interior, our perceptions of physical space, and the events that take place in those spaces. And while the concept of documenting and sharing static representations of space isn't new, nor is the critique of the role of mass media and architecture novel, the magnitude by which we live in a flattened world is expanding at an exponential rate. The internet and social media have yielded a new type of urban social fabric, an invisible yet entirely occupiable spatial network where, through a screen, precisely framed places are shared and consumed, and with the blink of an eye, we are transported into countless distinct environments. With our gaze, and not with our body, we choose where we want to go and for how long. As Beatrice Colomino writes, the fact that people now live in a vast global spider's web of electronic communication connected to billions of people is a continuation of the human capacity to maximize connectivity and therefore the ability to design. Social media and electronic communication is a new form of urban life. It is not simply an expansion of design. It is a revolution in the capacity to be human and inhuman. The ultimate goal of design is now about going viral, and a new interior typology is exploding. The photographic playground. Devoid of culture, character, and meaning, these spaces are no more than successful backdrops for self-presentation, promotion, and conspicuous consumption in otherwise banal and empty interior architecture. They are not immersive interiors. These spaces simply produce highly efficient immersive photographs. Photographic playgrounds create the illusion of the immersive experience. It is a game of conceal and reveal, the concealing of real space by creating a frame, revealing a curated persona to the world. A stage where one can project themselves into a perfectly framed moment to craft their public persona. A superficial currency denoting social worth. A spatial opportunity where the self can control how they are perceived by the world. But what is happening outside of the frame? This project was never supposed to be about COVID-19. I've resisted the overlap between my topic and the current state of the world every single step of the way. I've proclaimed that it would be short-sighted to position my work within the atypical confines of COVID-19. It's temporary, is what I've told myself time and time again. This isn't life as usual. It's the solace I've found in this silent and solitary storm. I've held on to the notion of temporary as somehow being distinctly finite. Grasping at straws and ignorant rationale echoing, this too shall pass. The problem is, what is temporary is also innumerable. A temporary state is only temporary in hindsight. Who is really to say what is temporary and what is permanent, besides relativity? In the present, we know neither for certain. See, the frame as we knew it, the world as we knew it, the way in which we position and understand our lives and context and space and place and time has shattered. And living in uncertainty does, pardon my language, some crazy shit to your mental and emotional state. And settling into the esoteric, vast unknown that is time and the duration of time, the constant anticipation of the passing of one state to another, recognizing the facts of life as just being, well, that's just bewildering. So, we hold on to temporary as the only black and white in this gray area, which is the present. A glimmer of hope, summoning nostalgia and channeling it into some future where we can hold the way things used to be and the way things will be together at last. As we sit in the confines of a singular interior and screen time increases even more exponentially, we look at pictures of the past and impose ourselves onto backgrounds of a far-off place, dreaming of the next time we can go somewhere. We just want to feel the way we did that one time in that one place, and that feeling, well, I guess that's why we keep taking pictures. It's the emotion of place, the social connections, the stories that happen in those places, the experiences that build memories and elicit feelings. It's all the things we can't see in the picture, but we feel inside. That's why we do it, and that's why we go. Emotions are a funny thing, and they're deeply personal and deeply individual. And that passing of one state to another, the recognition of that short split second you were able to live in the moment and experience something that made you feel something in a space, the interaction between time and place and people and the codification of it to memory, That's immersion. I guess if there's one thing we're learning, it's this. Humans aren't meant for social distancing or confinement. And so we have learned through hardship, through a dramatic and sudden shift in the way we experience interior life, as a survival instinct nonetheless, that the image and the screen will never replace the place. Sure, the way we design will certainly be altered by this pandemic, and probably in pretty technical ways. But as is the persistent problem with the present, we won't know how until in hindsight. But in the now, maybe my understanding of all of this can be spatialized into a new idea of immersion. In this moment, we are experiencing firsthand the emotional impact of interior space and how physical space shapes our perceptions and understanding of the world, framing and reframing life iteratively as a means to get by in trying times. And life thrives on the fabric that is social interaction and connection. Our life happens in stories, and space can be a way to share those stories. It's the emotion of place that creates immersion. What if we had a place we could go to relive our best stories, to bring us the comfort and the feelings we need when we need them most? An escape from the uncertain now, a place where your walls come closer inward, but your space expands in scope and intricacy. You create that space with your own two hands. You are the agency in your interior. And each time you enter, it's distinctly different, a new immersive experience each time you need a feeling, and you get to be the one to build it. For you and only you. As I'm coming to understand, for if a room exists under the governance, authority, and intent of others seems smaller than it is, then a room that exists in secret can, regardless of its dimensions, seem as vast as one cares to imagine. Everyone has a story to tell. Stories are the fabric, circumstance and context, the threads weave together. Each starts out simple, but with each retelling, with the passing of time, with the layering of additional distinct, yet not unrelated occurrences, our stories evolve, and life just happens before our eyes. Our lives only get more complicated as time goes on. Story after story unrolls and layers into one another until the topics are far too convoluted, related, humanized with nuance and depth for us to ever know where we once started. It could start with a time when life was simpler, the parts overlaid and intertwined, soon, like life, indiscernible from the whole. What I'm leaving you with is my newfound understanding of the immersive experience. It's one that's entirely personal. Maybe it's real and can be fabricated and shipped ubiquitously, but perhaps during this time, it's a musing about how our interiors should be designed. Perhaps it's your personal dreamscape and life story spatialized, the way you remember it, evoking whatever emotion you want each time you enter inside. As your story unfolds and life goes on, new layers get added. They overlap and circle you and hold you until the next time you need them. You get to choose which stories to unroll and how to arrange them. Maybe your next adventure will be different. With your hands, you manipulate the layers to create and distort and twist and turn until you experience something entirely new that you've never seen before. A place where you take the past to invent the future. Something new in the present each and every time you enter. You can box it all up when you're done, just until the next time you feel like you need an escape. Whenever you need it, it's there.